not to the cloud. Okay, we are capturing. Good. So let's get this started. Okay. Welcome to Reality Check with Rishi, and this is our weekday podcast. And today we have a very special guest. We have a trustee from the school district, New Haven School District, Sharan Kaur. Sharan, how are you doing? Welcome.
I'm doing great, Rishi. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for taking the time, Sharan. I respect your leadership over these many years. I watch you on social media. We meet once in a while, but I can see how you're truly plugged in with the community, and you are stepping up and doing everything you can, especially now as we all deal with the coronavirus. And what we like to talk about is all the situation, the changes that are going through, and how we are all dealing with that. And there is a little bit of pivoting that is going on in terms of how we are adjusting, reconciling, just to help out our neighbors, just to be with our families. But we'll talk a little bit about that. And I would love to hear your personal story. So Sharan, how about providing us a little glimpse of who you are and what you have done, what you believe in, and let's get this conversation started. Delighted to have you, Sharan.
Thank you. Thank you again, Rishi. Yeah, as far as who I am, I mean, this is, I've grown up in the community that I serve in currently. I am in my first term as a New Haven Unified School Board trustee in my fourth year at the moment. And New Haven Unified School District is located in the East Bay, serving students from Union City and also part of the Hayward area. These are challenging times, not only for our district, but all districts. We're covering about 6.1 million students in California. So we're all impacted one way or another. And so a lot of planning, a lot of meeting with our superintendent, our board, in terms of what we need to do to make sure we're serving our community. A lot of that is happening, and apart from that, I'm also part of a lot of the community projects that are happening around this time, mainly to serve our most needed, most vulnerable community members. We're doing 2 weeks lunch drives and fresh produce drives to our seniors. We're doing that on Tuesdays and Thursdays of every week. Just to make sure that, they're taken care of. There is so many unknowns, and, these are trying times for all of us. And there are some people who just don't have anybody other than themselves. And obviously financial struggles are real for many families, including our students, So we have to make sure that we're taking care of our own. And so that was mainly the reason why we started that drive here. And lastly, I know Fridays you do your family setup. So I wanted to also let you know that, you probably know this following from, on social media, is that I'm a new mother. So I have an 11-month-old. So it's challenging time at home front and also dealing with, my professional side. But I wouldn't have it any other way. This is what I love to do. I love to serve my community. I love being hands-on. So this is where I get my pleasure out of. So I'm in my element. I just wish we had better circumstances for us to be doing the work that we do.
A new mother who is a fearless leader in the community, not only in the school district, but also helping out seniors that are in need. I think it's a great story playing out, Sharan, and it's an honor to be talking to you today. So let's talk a little bit about the school district. And I was actually bombarded with a lot of emails from people basically asking, when is the school going to shut down? And did you also receive these types of emails from your district, from the parents, from perhaps even students?
Yeah, this is way before we were given the mandate to shelter in place. A lot of the districts, especially in the Alameda County, we were struggling do we stay open? Do we close? Because some of the other districts had started shutting down. I know Elk Grove Unified School District had some positive cases, so they had shut down their district altogether weeks before any of the other districts did. So it was challenging time for us to decide, but, we have a really good board. And for us, the priority was the safety of our students and our staff and our communities overall. So it was a hard decision. We were getting some guidance from the CDC and the Alameda County as to how which direction we should be going. All the superintendents were meeting together, and obviously the parents were sending us email, both, they want the schools open, others wanted the schools closed. So it was a matter of shuffling, everyone's priorities and figuring out what's the best thing for our students, for our communities. And ultimately we decided as a board, and luckily a day after, we got the directive that we should be sheltering in place. So I think I'm proud of our district for really taking on that big step and really deciding that, it's better to be safe than sorry, and really pulling that plug and say, we're gonna shelter in place as required. And so that was 2 weeks before our spring break. So we're ending our spring break currently, but we have been in shelter in place for 3 weeks. During all this time, our district was really, really diligently working on what are we going to do, right? I mean, there was an inkling that, this is what the reality is going to be. It is not going to be where we come back after spring break. Chances are this is going to be a long term. So I'm proud to say that our district was on the forefront of really figuring out what those plans will look like, and answering a lot of our community questions ahead of time, and making sure that, where safety is our main priority.
Yes, absolutely. I really commend you and your school board members, and also the leadership from the school district for making the right choices. So tell me about the food program. Is the food program currently functional? There are students, families that are able to pick up the lunches, and that is helping out?
Yeah, so one of the mandates for any public school is that they are to offer meals to all their students, regardless of whether they were on the free and reduced meals or not. So that was the beauty of making sure that we had food being serviced to our community throughout. One of the best things that our school district did was that they went a step ahead and actually offered meals to our students over spring break. Again, these are challenging times. There is no playbook as to how people are supposed to be dealing with this kind of pandemic. So each district is kind of left on their own to make the decision. And our district was really on the forefront again to make sure that our students, our communities were fed, because students not only rely on schools for education, but also for their meals, also for their mental and social health. So it's important that we continued that for them. So we made sure that we had meals. And this is before our superintendent actually announced that we were going to offer meals to our students. I had worked, like I said, we were doing these community lunch drives. And I had already plugged in that we would be serving our most needy students during spring break, regardless of the district, if they had offered meals or not. But it turned out that they were offering meals for pickup for 5 days. You can come in one day and pick up 5 days worth of breakfast and lunches, and still have something to go off of for the whole week. So that was really nice. Apart from that, we are still serving our community. Anyone can come in, whether it's a student, whether it's a parent, whether it's a senior citizen, anyone can come in and still receive some of the lunch drives that we're doing. And it's all thanks to our sponsors, our community outpour. There's so much support. So many people are actually volunteering, getting out on the front line. So it's been a successful and a very eye-opening experience. During these challenging times, there's always people that, come together because they really believe in the strength of, just your neighbors helping one another out. So it's been a successful drive altogether.
Very nice to hear, Sharan. So let's talk about education. Obviously there is an impact. And are there online education being conducted, perhaps in the high school or around you? What have you seen? What have you observed?
Yeah, so many of the district, so up until 2 days ago, the mandate from the governor and also the county levels were that we will likely remain closed throughout May 2nd. But as you can see, in just a couple of days, we have gotten new information, and now the schools are to remain closed until this academic year plays out. So we know that schools are to be remain shut. Students are not coming back for this whole academic year. So like I said, we have been shelter in place. We have been out of school for 3 weeks altogether now. So our school district, along with many other in our counties, they have figured out a way to do the remote learning. Our district is calling virtual learning process. So a lot of our staffs have been collaborating with our unions, our teachers, our classified staff, just to make sure what is going to be the path forward. So there's a lot of online learning happening. And one of the best things about our district is that we have one-to-one technology. So every single student in our district from 8th grade onward has a Chromebook provided by the school district. And the district has gone ahead and actually offered additional Chromebooks to be given to elementary students, those who don't have a device at home. So every child in our district has and will, if not already has one, but will have a device that they can log into and connect online. And obviously all these resources are compiled with the work of our teachers, with our staff. So all of that is actually going out this week to our students. So there's gonna be resources and guides as to how they need to conduct the next couple of months, really. So there's a lot of work that has already gone into this, and it's actually being conducted at the moment.
That's good. It sounds like the school district was prepared, and there was a plan already in place that has worked out very well. And the students are still learning, and they have the opportunity to not just stay at home and get frustrated. They're out there. What about like online resources? Has the school district been active in sort of communicating to the parents in terms of what are the other resources that exist online for parents? And then, I think, my wife was actually talking about an interesting, how do I put this? She was talking about how, sometimes families may have a single laptop that has been shared across the different students. How are they conducting the online education if there is a resource issue? Any thoughts on that you would like to share? Has the school district heard anything? Like you as a board member, have you heard anything?
Yeah, so let me just answer your latter question that your wife brought up. So like I said, our district is a one-to-one technology. So we have, every student in our district has the Chromebook that's provided by the district. And the elementary students typically share a laptop within their classroom with one other student. And actually what happens is, now that we're going to be online through the whole academic year, the district has gone ahead and actually they have all these devices that they're giving out to any students who either doesn't have it or their laptop is broken. So the entire next week, the parents are making appointments to pick up their devices. So they will get a device that is their own if the parent chooses to have an independent device for their child. Our middle schools have it, our high schools already have it, so there should not be an issue for them. As far as what resources are available online, there is a plethora of resources. I mean, we have museums that have opened up their doors, or their virtual doors, really, for people to kind of go through and do sightseeing. There's the Khan Academy. There's so many different online resources that already exist. So what we had asked our district to do was compile a menu of things that were vetted and that were relevant to each site level. So that is an offering that they are doing for our parents as well. So all of those for our parents is listed on our website, and they have been communicated to all of our community members. So they can actually, instead of trying to look for something on their own, they can just go to the website and find the ones that are relevant to their child's grade level.
Very nice. It's very good to hear this, Sharan. So tell us about Jind and Leo. Are they getting along?
Yeah, Jind and Leo. Yeah, so Leo is our 7-year-old German Shepherd. He actually just turned 7 years old a couple of days ago. He's our first baby, and Jind is our 11-month-old daughter. She's just turned 11 a couple of days ago as well. It's been very different having a human baby, but we love it. She's a very easy child, and we have like I said, German Shepherd who watches over her. So between the two of them, they keep us very, very busy.
Hopefully you're enjoying some good family time.
Oh yeah, I do miss my parents. I do miss them I do miss not having to drop her off there at times. My mom calls every single day. They want to, FaceTime my daughter, our dog, or my nieces and nephews. But it's been nice having this time alone with our immediate family. So, there are days when I wish I can just drop her off at my mom's house, but but we get over it with a nap.
Yeah, I was just
Thank you for asking about them.
My wife was like, oh my God, I have to do this work, work, and then homework, and then, all the kid stuff. And then even me, it's like, hey, you have to step up your game too, Yeah. And then, so what I did was, I'm a little bit of a psychologist. So I said, look, will you have moments like these? When will you have this in your life where we're all together for like so many weeks, let's enjoy that. Right. And she was like, she kept quiet. I think it sort of, it made an impact on her,
Well, it's a new reality. We're not used to having so much time to ourselves, right? We live in a world where it's a go, go, go. We are hustling all the time. We barely have time to just kind of catch up with our loved ones. So I think this is an opportunity that we must take and slow down and just really enjoy each other's company and learn. There's a lot of things that I've learned about my own home that I didn't even know, because we're so in the rush of, just getting things done and day-to-day kind of a deal that you don't realize what you're missing. So I think it's kind of been a blessing in disguise as well, to have this downtime and be with family. But yeah, it's a new reality, new norm that we're not used to, but I think slowly and surely we're getting there.
Yes. And to some extent, Sharan, I think this was needed. We were all on the go and running. And I think planet Earth was feeling the brunt of the pressure, and our mishandling of environmental issues. And so finally, what happened, I think there was a reason why it happened. We've all given it a pause, and there's a cleansing going on with planet Earth, and we are defining a new reality of how we will sustain and grow this planet over the next decades. I think this generation has learned hopefully a good lesson. And how do you see as in the future world? Do you see any difference happening in terms of the before coronavirus and after coronavirus?
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of shift in our climate change conversations, a lot of shift in healthcare, a lot of different conversations that are going to be happening around what does it mean to have work-life balance, right? All of those things I think are going to be coming into play post-corona. You're right, this is a pause. This was in a way somewhat needed, but I think the reality is that no one was prepared for this pandemic. And I think even in the US, we're a little late in terms of preventing and testing and figuring out a way to get rid of this. But we have a good handle on it now, but I think the conversations are going to be much, much different once we get past this. And definitely, climate change, I'm sure many of the third world countries or countries that are very congested in terms of, a lot of commuters and traffic, they've probably never seen bluer skies before. There's a lot of changes happening in the environment, and I'm pretty sure we'll get some sort of reading and data once all this is done with to see what if anything has benefited from having this pause. So I think the conversations are going to be much different afterwards, and that may include vaccinations. So there's a lot of people who don't believe in vaccinations, and they may think things differently after this one, I think.
Yes, it's a shift of attitudes, of mindsets, and even consciousness in terms of how we are evolving now. All of us, we probably don't know it, but we're going through some sort of an inner transformation. And more so when I look at these young kids, I mean, we are dealing with this once in 100 years, and I think they are probably they don't know it yet, but the kind of learning that they are going through will help hopefully hit the reset button for the world, and will make some proper choices going forward. It's an incredible situation we are in that nobody had ever thought of. And to some extent, the whole world is sort of reeling with this. There's going to be economic damage. But what we have realized is that health is probably the most important wealth we have.
Yeah.
And how do you see the situation of healthcare evolving in the country? When you talk about developing vaccinations or just preparing our country to be better prepared for the next pandemic or bio-warfare, where do you see this shifting?
Yeah, well, I'm no expert in healthcare, first and foremost, and I think we are living in a history. This is history that we are going to be remembering 20, 30 years down the line. Our kids are going to be talking about this. And in terms of healthcare, I think there's going to be a lot of different conversations that are going to be taking place, right? I mean, look at now, we didn't even have a lot of test kits for many of our people who are either tested positive or may have symptoms or may even have, the actual coronavirus way before it's even, symptomatic. So I think in terms of the capacity, how much we can actually manage if there is another pandemic. I hope there isn't anytime soon, but I think everything's going to be looked at differently in terms of our capacity, in terms of what people need to be doing in terms of preventative care. There's a lot of pressure on our healthcare system at the moment, and I think most of us probably have a better appreciation of the healthcare workers, the frontline folks, right? Whether it's a nurse or a pharmacy tech. And I think we just have to remember that it could happen to anyone. Money is not going to really help you in this case. There's no boundaries. There's no borders. There's no, it doesn't discriminate in terms of your nationality. So anyone and everyone can have it. We're lucky in a sense that we live in a very developed country where, healthcare system is very strong. But is it accessible to everyone, right? I think that conversation will be different after this coronavirus. And unfortunately, the many folks that we have lost, whether they're doctors, whether they're nurses, whether they're folks that just could not get access to the test, right? So I think a lot of that is going to change in the future. So, I mean, we just have to get through this. We have to get through this. We have to choose our electeds who are going to be making strong choices and leading our country and making sure that we have healthcare systems that's accessible to all. And it's going to be, it's a matter of life and death when it comes to these kind of pandemics.
Yes, for sure. And I think, it's creating a deep sense of a new reality. When I look at a story that I posted earlier this morning on Medium, a young family, 12-year-old girl, and the wife lost the husband, and because I think it went very quickly. Like March 12th was when the husband, who was a DJ, felt a little problem with his health. And by March 19th, he was gone, or maybe even sooner, like 6 days,
Yeah.
which was like for someone who was young and healthy, less than 40 years old. And it was a very stark story. And the reason why was because we were sort of reluctant to get him the test or bring him into the hospital because he was under 40 years and he was not a high risk category, which is pretty scary. Perhaps we could have saved a life if he had gone out and done something. And this will never change for the family. And that's the reality we are dealing with. And hopefully we can make some better choices and be better prepared. Let's talk about the pandemic itself, in terms of how we all are stepping up and helping out our families, our neighbors. feeding our seniors. So talk a little bit about, I've seen social media, all the good work that you're doing. You know, it's amazing to see you step up and be there helping out in spite of having a young, a newborn in your home, but you're doing all you can. So tell us what you're doing and how you're doing this.
Yeah, well, I think we all have to really do our part in taking care of our communities, right? I mean, you just talked about, a young family who lost, a wife has lost a husband and the kids have lost the father. I think that reality, when you think about it, it just starts to kind of seep in, right? You think about what can happen if you don't step up and do something. So it's really important for each of us in our capacity, obviously, right? In our capacity, trying to do whatever we can, whether it's, figuring out a way for someone to pick up dinners or produce or food or something for seniors. I have a grandmother who lives with my mom's mother. And I have not seen my parents for 3 weeks now. It hurts to not be able to go see them, but at the same time, we know that it's almost better not to see them. If you love them enough, don't go over, right? So I think that reality for many of us is hard to understand, but once you really get the grip of what this pandemic is, you will make that choice. It's hard, but you will make that choice because you don't want them, you want them alive. So you'd rather not see them for a couple of weeks, but you will see them afterwards, happy and healthy. So I think that reminder, that constant reminder, and obviously our leaders are doing a great job of, communicating with us, what is it that we have to do? We have to shelter in place. We have to keep our social distancing. We have to be able to, anytime you come in contact with someone, wash your hands or just wash your hands regularly. All of those things are great reminders. And I think we just have to keep doing our part in reminding ourselves and our community members. And there's, no one is perfect. And I think we all have our limitations and our capacities, but that willingness and that desire to really help one another is what makes me kind of keep going.
Absolutely. Great. Very nice to hear that, Sharan. So one final question, in terms of your school district, what are some suggestions that you're going to offer once we get back to a little bit of a normalcy? What kind of changes would you like to see happen so that, we are able to adjust and apply a different set of circumstances towards ensuring that our students have the learning that they need, or even like food that they need? Any specific thoughts that you have based upon what you have observed?
Yeah, we learned very quickly that no district was perfect in implementing online learning because it is not something anyone has ever thought about.
Correct. Yes, yes.
We live in a Silicon Valley. We think we are all equipped and capable of, just one day turning all our classes onto online. It doesn't happen with the switch of a button. So I think that reality was hard for me coming from the Silicon Valley myself, coming from a tech side. And one of the questions that I had asked our superintendent was, we have all these college classes that we're able to take online or hybrid classes, right? What does that mean for our classes? Why can't we just turn them over and do online classes? It really doesn't work like that. There's a lot of human aspects that are involved. We have lack of technology and equipment. And many of those things, and and it's also the buy-in from our stakeholders, right? Our teachers, our classified staff, our administrators, and also parents. Quite honestly, aren't prepared to have their kids home all day and doing the homeschooling themselves. So I think that was a reality check for many of us. What can happen after this? And I think we might just be better prepared in terms of, shifting everything online if there ever is a need. That technology is being built by a lot of districts. And another positive point that I came to know about, and I think it's actually a really positive point, about 25% of our student population is a socioeconomic disadvantage, right? So there is that barrier that a lot of these students don't have access to connectivity, devices, or any sort of technology. So with that, our school district is actually stepping up and providing hotspots for them. There's going to be Wi-Fi that is being bought for them, so they will have that. So I think bringing everybody on that same platform in terms of technology is going to be a benefit for us going forward. And hopefully we'll never have to do an online learning, for a long time, or solely online learning. But if there is ever an opportunity, I think we would be ready. We would have the technology, our teachers would be better prepared, our parents would have a better understanding of what needs to happen, what should happen. And quite frankly, there might be more of a hybrid classes that might come out of this for high schools or even our middle school level. So that we currently do not have, but there might be hybrid opportunity for students who may want to take additional classes outside of their regular school hours.
Yep, for sure. And I can see how every school district in America will be adjusting to perhaps a future pandemic, and there'll be resources lined up, and we'll invest in different programs and make sure that our families can survive and sustain over a period like this. So Sharan, it was a delight talking to you. Thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're busy, and in spite of all your schedule and all the work that you're doing, you are truly a hero serving in the community. So I salute you for that. And thank you so much for taking the time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. You're too kind. Thank you. Stay safe, Rishi.
All right. You too. Okay. Enjoy.
Bye.